Hello, good morning, and welcome to Morning Brew on Hughes the World. I'm the Hughes. This is the world. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in the chat. Sorry, I'm a bit late getting started. 3 minutes late, to be precise. Shropshire Chris and Chris C. Two Chris's in the chat. It's all good. You never have enough Chris's in your life. We've got Martin Harrow in there. We've got Ellis going on. We've got Graham Hallett. You can never have enough Grahams either. Graham as well. We've got Billy. We've got Saz. We've got Reverend Kathy. We've got Sid. Oh, this is brilliant. Okay, so if you'd like to join some of our friends in the chat here, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button, wait for approximately 1 minute, and you'll be able to enter the chat. Diz has entered the chat. That means that I need to set up a goal in order to make Diz happy. So I'll just get that sorted now, very quickly. Party doesn't have two T's in it, Graham. We'll get there in the end, shall we? Oh, there we go. So everyone's saying hello to each other in the chat, which is lovely. Hi all in chat, says Viper Scott. How you doing, Alistair? Okay, well, Chris is the word. Chris is the word. So welcome one, welcome all. I've changed the studio a little bit. Got a chest now. Got a chest to put the telly on. Might get rid of the telly at some point and replace it with something else. I don't know. It's just nice to have something sort of going on in the background. It's a bit distracting while you're watching. So you can go, I'm just saying, defocus on Graham and I'll look at the TV instead. Try and suss out what's going on. Right. Nip to the shop. Rejoice for Brexit. Breakfast mushrooms may now be had. That is good news. I've also got some good news. My passport application has been accepted, which means for the first time since 2014, I will have two passports. I'll have two concurrent British passports, and an additional British passport, hopefully to set me up to do my trip to Bougainville off the coast of Papua New Guinea next year. Bougainville, which hopefully will become the 194th member of the United Nations on the 1st of September 2027. Now, it might not happen because the Prime Minister of PNG is going, oh, well, I know 99% of the people who voted, for this in Bougainville for independence. I know 99% of the vote, but is that really overwhelming? Is that really overwhelming majority? So, and it is up to Papua New Guinea to come to some sort of arrangement with Bougainville going forward for Bougainville to be more than just an autonomous state, which it is at the moment. It needs to, they want full independence from Papua New Guinea. But there's a big mine there. There's a big gold mine there. So you can see why Papua New Guinea might want to keep hold of it in perpetuity. Good morning, Sheffield, says Martin Harrow. Good morning, Sheffield. Good morning, Liverpool. Good morning, Manchester. Good morning, London. Good morning down to everyone in the southwest of the country. Good morning to everyone in Wales, everyone in Scotland, everyone in Norfolk and Suffolk. Everyone in the Midlands, everyone in the North, everyone in the South, everyone in Wales, everyone in Northern Ireland, everyone in Ireland, everyone in any other country that might be watching. We might have viewers from America. They're getting up very early. Might have viewers across Europe. Might have viewers from across Africa. Might have viewers as far away as Hong Kong. We'll have to see if David's watching this morning. Viper Scott there. Hi, Gillian. Gillian Hope is in there. Hi, Gillian. How's it going? Today we're going to slag off Nigel Farage. So come join me in a slagging session while we slag off, that is, Nigel frickin' Farage. Absolutely horrific case, this. Henry Nowak, just 18 years old, recently started university in Southampton. His parents had only recently dropped him off to begin the next stage of his life. And in December 2025, Henry encountered Vikram Digwa in Southampton. Digwa was carrying a large bladed weapon. An exchange took place between the two men. Digwa stabbed Henry multiple times. After the stabbing, Digwa falsely claimed that he had been the victim of racial abuse. He alleged that Henry had racially abused him, and this claim proved false, and Digwa was convicted of murder and sentenced to a life imprisonment with a minimum of 21 years. Now, that's one thing. It's a tragedy. It's awful. The next thing is the police response, which was, it was shocking. It was shocking because hindsight is 2020. We know now that Henry was the victim and not the perpetrator of this crime. But the police response was the most shocking aspect of the case after body cam footage emerged. One officer has already resigned who was involved in this, and 3 others are still with the force. But officers arriving at the scene accepted Digwe's account of events. Digwe portrayed himself as the victim. Henry was treated as a suspected aggressor. He repeatedly told officers he had been stabbed, he could not breathe, he needed help, and officers handcuffed Henry anyway. At this point, it might not have been obvious to the officers that he had been stabbed. He was suffering from major internal bleeding, but that might not have been externally obvious. However, in a situation like this, where someone's saying, I have been injured, I am not in a good way, help, even if you do suspect them of having committed a crime, the first thing you're supposed to do is check them out and make sure that they are all right before you go around putting handcuffs on them. Okay, so at that point, when he was handcuffed, he was already suffering from fatal injuries. An officer expressed disbelief when Henry said he had been stabbed. And you can understand why the footage has generated widespread public anger. Obviously, the police believed this kid was swinging the lead, was making something up that wasn't true. But it is always best to err on the side of caution in these situations. And if someone says, I have been injured, I have been stabbed, you believe them. You believe them. Check it out. If it turns out they haven't been stabbed, fine. Put handcuffs on and throw them in the back of the paddy wagon. Don't care, right? But until that point, it is your duty of care as a first responder, whether you're a police officer or a fire officer or driving an ambulance, to make sure that the person that you are dealing with is not injured in any way. And the footage from the body cam was released yesterday, and it has generated widespread public anger. Many people believe that the officers failed to assess the situation properly, which, they did. There's definitely contextual issues here. The police wants to do the right thing, I assume, but whatever the guidelines are that the police were following are not the correct guidelines if you are going to allow a situation like this to happen. And it could happen to anyone. It doesn't matter what background someone has, what ethnic mix they are. It doesn't matter. The police, if they turn up and they don't know what's going on and they're just taking people's words for it, there is no reason whatsoever to take one person's word for it and say, oh, I'm the victim of, say, a racist attack, of a racial abuse, and not to take the other person's word for it when they say they're injured, when they say they've been stabbed. It's a lot more serious. You check that out first, and then you can proceed with doing whatever you need to do next. And if that's not that's not the procedure at the moment, well, it damn well should be. And I would imagine that it is, to be honest with you. There's going to be an inquiry into this. They're going to fast track it, so it should only take 3 months instead of 3 fucking years, like all the other inquiries that happen. But critics are using this to argue that the police focused on the allegation of racism before establishing basic facts. And to a certain extent, I can see that argument, because the police have been accused of institutional racism over the years, and you could see why they might be overcautious. But then, on the other hand, perhaps this is a case of, even if it had been someone who had claimed that they'd been mugged, claimed that someone had stolen their wallet or stolen their handbag, and that was the person who did it, when it actually turns out that it was the case that the perpetrator, the assumed perpetrator, was actually the victim of a crime, a horrific crime, a crime of murder. Now, Hampshire and the Isle of Wight Constabulary have apologised. The force referred itself for investigation, and at the moment, the IOPC, the Independent Office for Police Conduct is examining what happened. Now, here's the important part, right? Henry's father, Mark Nowak, delivered a powerful statement after the sentencing. The family demanded a full investigation, transparency, accountability, which is what I want, which is what they want, which is what everyone should want at this point. And they also stated specifically they did not want Henry's death to be used to create division. They did not want hatred generated in his name. They wanted, and this is important, safer streets for everyone. And the family's position has remained consistent. Focus on justice, focus on police accountability, focus on preventing future tragedies such as this. When the police turn up to a situation and they don't really know what's going on, if someone says, I am hurt, I am injured, you check that out before slapping the handcuffs on them. The court during the trial heard that Digwa lied after the attack. He falsely portrayed himself as the victim. Members of his family became involved after the killing. The court heard attempts were made by his family to conceal evidence. The judge identified these lies as an aggravating factor during sentencing, and the judge also noted that false allegations help generate community tensions, which of course they do. And let's not beat around the bush. The murderer in this situation is the big problem, like the catalyst to all this. My problem is that this is being used as a political weapon, as a cudgel, by Nigel Farage. And he went out there specifically to cause a riot. And pretty much, if you saw any of the footage of what happened last night in Southampton, he got a long way towards that. Chris, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Would there be the same level of anger if it happened the other way around, where Henry Nowak stabbed and murdered Vikram Digwa? I don't think so. Well, I think there might. No, Chris, I disagree with that. Don't forget the riots that started in 2011 that spread all over the country in the summer of 2011 here. That happened after, was it Mark Duggan? There was a black lad who was shot dead by the police, and the riots kicked off after that. Whenever you're dealing with anything that has a racial connotation to it, and a major event like this where someone actually dies, then I think that I think that either way, obviously that's a hypothetical, but I feel like if the same people wouldn't have kicked off. I mean, Farage wouldn't have made a speech about it. Obviously, I don't mean it like that. I mean like there would have been a kickoff about it had it gone the other way. And yeah, the police had just believed this white kid. They turned up a situation. They believed the white kid, and the kid who wasn't white was lying, on the ground bleeding to death. I think things would have kicked off. Just different people kicking off about it. Now, there was just quickly the sort of the issue of the kirpan, which is the name of the ceremonial knife. There's significant misinformation circulated online. Digwa was carrying a kirpan. It's a ceremonial article of faith carried by observant Sikhs. The kirpan that he had on him was not used in the murder. The murder weapon was a separate blade. The judge explicitly distinguished between the ceremonial kirpan and the weapons used in the attack, and some political figures have nevertheless called for restrictions or bans on kirpans, and Sikh organisations have strongly opposed such proposals. They argue the kirpan is a protected religious article. They note it was not the weapon used in this crime. Yes, it wasn't. I have some sympathy considering the level of knife crime that is out there for arguments that if you are going to have a kirpan, it needs to be blunt. It needs to not come out of its holster, like whatever it's called, the sheath, I should say. But the it wasn't used in this crime, but there has been a significant amount of misinformation. The response from the Sikh community, they've overwhelmingly condemned the murder. Sikh MPs issued a joint statement across the House. They expressed solidarity with Henry's family. They condemned the killing. They urged calm. And Digwa's relatives have publicly apologised to the Nowak family. They apologised for the damage they've caused to the Sikh community. And Professor Jigbar Jutta Johal of the University of Birmingham has warned against collective blame. She argued that entire communities should not be held responsible for the actions of one individual. She also warned that inflammatory political rhetoric could be used to increase fear amongst minorities, which of course enter Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage yesterday morning at 8 a.m. issued what Refuck described as an emergency statement. He did this from a nondescript field somewhere in England because he's hiding at the moment because he's going to be asked questions about the £5 million he was given by a crypto billionaire who facilitates money to be spirited out and in of Russia, avoiding the sanctions that have been placed on Russia for its horrific crimes that is committed against the people of Ukraine over the last 4 years. Farage argued that there was a two-tier treatment by the police. There was anti-white prejudice. And he talked about a broader cultural problem. And he urged people to respond with what he called, and these are the words he used, pure cold rage. And he also used the phrase white lives matter. And he argued that the police took the allegation of racism more seriously than a stabbing. But in the context of the situation, and I don't want to, I'm not defending the police because I think they fucked up here. I think we all have to agree they fucked up. They were attending a racial incident. They did not realize that they were attending a stabbing. The response from other politicians like Sabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, she described it as an evil act, but said that this misinformation is making a bad situation worse. Communities shouldn't be turned against each other, and political figures should avoid inflaming tensions. Tanmanjit Singh Desi, the Labour MP, criticised attempts to blame the Sikh community. He argued that Refuck and Restore Britain and elements of the far right have sought to politicise the tragedy, which they have done. And the Lib Dems said that the focus should be now on justice, accountability and police conduct, which I agree with. Kemi Badenoch declined to endorse Farage's framing of events. She said the discussion should not be about Nigel Farage. Why this has created so much public anger. The murder itself, obviously, an 18-year-old young man murdered, and public outrage about that is understandable. The police response, that is understandable that people, have seen the body cam footage. The officers believed the wrong person, the victim was handcuffed, and the killer's account was initially accepted by the police when it should have been more in the case of, especially in a case, and this will be what comes out of the inquiry. They'll say in cases where the police attend a crime and somebody says they are injured, it is the duty of the police to make sure that that person is or isn't injured, and if they are, administer whatever support they need. That should be the rule that comes out of this. I'm surprised that it isn't already. It might be, in which case the police officers who attended the crime scene will no doubt face disciplinary actions. But the racial element of this comes from both the fact that Digwa is a Sikh, but also that he claimed that he was being racially abused, and that influenced the officers' early assumptions. And there's been for me, the biggest outrage of this is the political exploitation by Nigel Farage. Sorry, I've got to send a message. Okay. Oh, we got a 20 quid a super chat from Ivan. Hey, Ivan, how you doing, mate? Just dipping in as quickly as I can't stop myself too long to it. But Farage, Yusuf, and co would do well to respect the wishes of Henry Nowak's dad and family, but of course they're not. By the way, all lives matter. Yeah, Ivan, thanks very much for the £20 super chat. And specifically, the family of the murder victim said, "Do not use this to divide communities, to divide the UK," which is what Farage thrives on, you know. Specifically, Henry's father asked that his son's death not be used to create division, hatred, or tension, and then Farage calls for pure cold rage, taking the discussion in a very, very different direction, inflaming tensions at an already volatile moment. Public anger was already extremely high after the body cam footage emerged. Political leaders have a responsibility to lower the temperature when emotions are running hot, and calling for rage is doing the absolute opposite. And Vikram Digwa committed this murder. He alone bears the responsibility for that. And many Sikh leaders, Sikh MPs, and Sikh organisations condemn the killing immediately. And we do this all the time. And it's so wrong. Whenever a member of a minority does something absolutely horrific, we go, okay, well, it's all of them. It's all of them. You know, we paint them all with the same brush. You had people outside the police station last night throwing bricks and someone threw an e-bike, for God's sake, at the police, and saying they had signs up saying Muslims out, and they were trying to drive the family of the murderer out of their community, and you know, this has turned a family's tragedy into a political battleground, which is exactly what they didn't want. Same thing happened in Southport just a couple of years ago, when there was the horrific killing of 3 little girls at a Taylor Swift dance studio, and the summer dance class. And Farage did the same thing then. He inflamed tensions. He inflamed tensions that were already running high, and it led to children in Southport reeling from the death of their friends and what had happened. Some of them little girls were in the houses that these monsters, these fuckwits, these dickheads, these horrible, horrible men who came from all over the country to riot on the streets of Southport. You know how, like, if someone's having an argument outside your house and you can hear them and you can feel your anxiety growing in you, imagine how those little girls felt with these knobheads outside their homes, pulling bricks off walls and throwing them on the street, screaming obscenities at the police, burning stuff on the streets. After that, after the trauma of what they've gone through, cowering in their bedrooms, you know, their parents holding them saying, listen, it's going to be all right. And all they can hear outside is men, bloody meathead gobshites, a quarter of whom had convictions for domestic violence and sexual abuse. You know, these people are just monsters. They're rent-a-mob. And Nigel Farage sent them to Southport under a false lie, false circumstances. He said that there is the person who committed this crime was an asylum seeker, something that he made up. It wasn't true. He made it up. He was told it. He was told it by none other than the sex offender Andrew Tate. Like, this guy who is wanted in 3 countries for committing crimes against women, horrific crimes against women, was taken as the oracle of all knowledge in this situation. And Farage has done this again, and this has created fear amongst minority communities, not just in the Sikh community, but also in the Muslim community, because people don't necessarily differentiate between, well, dickheads don't differentiate between Sikhs and Muslims, and anyone who's not white, and the fact that Farage has taken a family's worst nightmare and used it as a vehicle for a political message about race and identity, despite the family's explicit request that Henry's death not be used to sow division. That is the point that many of his critics find more than objectionable. This guy should not be in public life. Nigel Farage shouldn't be an MP. He is a crook. He is a fool. He is an evil man. And I've got a quote that I want to dig out. There is, yeah. So this is from Return of the King, right? And it's been changed on the internet, but essentially, he says what Frodo says in Return of the King: "The shadow that bred them can only mock; it cannot make not real things of its own." And this is the internet misattribution. Is that even a word? I don't know. It's been boiled down to evil cannot create anything new. They can only corrupt and ruin what has already been created. And this is so true. Look at what Farage does. Look at what Boris Johnson did when he was in charge. Look at what Trump does. All they can do is corrupt and ruin. Take something and make it worse. They can't create anything. And anything they do create is just a mockery of what has come before. Look at Trump's ballroom. It's a mockery. His Arc de Trump. It's a mockery. Look at him painting the concrete under the reflecting pool in Washington D.C. It's a mockery. It's a pathetic imitation of what better people have created. And if you think about Nigel Farage's whole campaign of his whole life, getting us out of the European Union, it wasn't about building us up with our relations with our nearest and dearest neighbours, the people who we trade with the most in the world. No, it was about destroying it. He didn't want to just destroy our relationship with our brothers and sisters across Europe. He didn't just want to destroy the hopes and dreams of working class kids who might want to live in Europe, which has been taken from them by Nigel Farage, something that he didn't take for himself, did not take away from himself. He did not take that away from his own children who have German passports, for fuck's sake. But he wanted to destroy the EU. He saw something that worked. And I know, yeah, it's not perfect. I'm not going to argue that it is. It's still got a lot of work to do. But it's better than not having an EU. In Europe, the countries that joined the EU have been at peace for decades now. The longest period of peace in Western Europe in history has been since the dawn of the EEC. And so, yeah, I hate the people. I hate the people in charge who can, who have this. They have the money. They have the power to create something amazing, and instead, they just destroy things. They destroy things, and it's so much easier to burn down the temple of Artemis at Ephesus than it is to build the thing in the first place. It is easier to destroy every time than it is to build to give knowledge, to assist, to help, to make something better, to restore, another term that we can't use now because it's been hijacked by the right wing. We can't use restore. We can't use what does refuck stand for? We can't use reform. We can't use advance. Like advance is gone. There's an advance UK. We can't use the word UKIP to mean anything but something awful. Yeah. Halfway there, Diz, says Martin Harrow. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you for the £2 super chat. And Saz has jumped in with the £2 super chat as well. Ivan says, I'm afraid I haven't got much leniency for the police in these circumstances. Granted, they had a job to do, and Farage is being absolutely vile, but they're not above accountability. Yeah, and look, there will be an inquiry, and they will be asked the question, why did you not believe the person who said that they've been injured? That's what they should have done first. The duty of care is to make sure that they're not, no matter what crime they believe had been committed at that point, whatever they were arresting him for, and look, I'm sure some people are going to swing the lead on this. They'll know that the new guideline says you have to make sure that the person is not injured before you slap the cuffs on them, which I'm sure that's the guidelines anyway, but they're going to bump that up, obviously, so it's in the minds of every police officer making an arrest. And there will be people saying, you can't arrest me, I've been injured, when they haven't. Yeah, fine. Do you know what? Deal with it. Make sure they're not injured, then arrest them anyway. It's just another hurdle to climb over as a police officer. And this is why guidelines are there, to stop mistakes like this from happening. And it is a sad situation. It really is. It's a horrific situation. It's a rare situation. And the right wing would have you believe, they'll have you jumping at shadows. They'll have you believe that every time you left the house, there were people just waiting around the corner ready to stab you and kill you. And the reality is, there isn't. There's about 600 murders in England and Wales each year. And that's awful. That's 600 too many. But on the other hand, it's only 600. Compare with how many people live here, which is over 68 million. Your chances of being killed are pretty low. Chances of being murdered are pretty low. You're more likely to be hit by a car, right? However, and also, don't forget, a lot of those murders, more than 3/4 of those murders, were perpetrated by somebody who knew the victim. Confetti time for Diz. Oh, yay. Thank you very much, Alistair. That is very kind of you for the £2 super chat. And that allows me to do this. This is for Diz. This is going out to Diz. 3, 2, 1. Confetti! Yay! Woo! It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Okay. Chris C. Also, the Sikh community do an awful lot to help those who have fallen on hard times, regardless of race, religion, sexual orientation, age, and gender. Yeah. Reclaim. That's also been claimed, hasn't it, by the far right, with that loser Fox creep, the transphobic piece of shit who spends Father's Day on his own because his kids don't want to spend time with him, burning pride flags. Or failing to burn pride flags. He went to Harrow, They torched and rioted outside Southport. Yeah, they did. I don't know who made this coffee, but they forgot to put some flavouring in. Oh, that's awful. It was me. I've known good, decent Sikhs. I've known good, decent Muslims, says Gallifreyan Ren, and good, decent Christians, pagans, atheists, Jedis, and Jews. The only ones I fear are men who weaponize the Bible. Yeah. Chris says that the problem is with that, Graham, is you get people like the knuckle draggers who will exploit the I have been injured to take the piss. Same thing happens with mental health. Yes. But Chris, yes. You know what the problem with the NHS is? Some people are hypochondriacs and they go and see the doctor every week. They're probably making it more difficult for you to get appointments than people coming across the small boats. But you have to take on whatever guidelines you put in. There are going to be some people who take the piss out of the guidelines. But you have to do it. It's part of the duty of care. There will be a process of make sure the person you're arresting isn't injured before you arrest them. That should be like number one. Just if they say, I am injured, I am hurting, look, I've been stabbed, then yeah, believe them. Ivan, thank you very much for the £20 super chat. I really want to contact refuck counsellors in my area to give them a piece of my mind. However, you do have to provide your own contact details when contacting, and I don't feel comfortable doing that with refuck. Yeah, I can understand that because they're not nice people. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't stress this enough. The people who are refuck, who councillors and these MPs, they're not nice people. And the people who vote for them, they either... No one thinks of themselves as evil. You got to understand that. Like, the Nazis in World War II, they didn't think of themselves as evil. They didn't look at themselves and say, are we the baddies? The hijackers on 9/11, they didn't think they were doing a bad thing. They thought they were helping. Weirdly. They believed that the people that they murdered, the innocent people they murdered that day, the 3,000 innocent people, they believed that they would go to a special VIP section of their heaven. They thought they were doing them a favour, as do all suicide bombers, by the way. And this is the thing, like, we talk about suicide bombers, we automatically think about Muslims, but it wasn't Muslims who invented the concept of suicide bombers. It was Hindus. It was the Tamil Tigers fighting against the Buddhist government in Sri Lanka in the 1980s. They came up with the concept because the Hindus believed in reincarnation. They were going to survive their own death. And the suicide bombers believed the same thing. But they believed it was absolutely necessary. The ends justified the means. And you see this time and time again, where the people who do bad things, like vote for refuck, vote for Trump, will justify it. Will say, yeah, I did it for this reason, and that was a good reason. But that, from an outside point of view, you're like, but you did an evil thing. If you voted for Brexit, you took rights away from the children of this country that they're probably never going to get back in their lifetime. To see the world, to explore the world, to explore their own continent, freely. They took away the right of someone selling records in Liverpool to sell them to Brussels or sell them to someone in Amsterdam or in Madrid or in Athens with the same ease that they could sell those records to someone in Manchester. They took that right away from them. They destroyed lives. There's obviously I was involved in the In Limbo project, which was talking about people's lives, and it's a devastating read. There's In Limbo and In Limbo 2, and it's about the first one's about EU citizens living here, and the second one's about British citizens living in the EU and how Brexit affected them. It ripped apart families. Like the parents, the mothers or fathers who had to leave this country or had to leave the country they were in the EU. And they're not getting to spend time with their children to see them grow up. That they become Zoom parents, they see them on Zoom once a week. And not least the amount of pain and suffering it caused for families and communities right across the UK, where people came down one side or the other, and you could see why so many people were so emotionally invested in it. You had the people who were told that Brexit would be amazing and it would allow us to free us up to trade with the rest of the world and all this other bullshit like about it being sunlit uplands. And you have people like me who've travelled, who've actually got off me fucking arse and gone to see these places. I'm not just going, rest of the world, it's like some nebulous thing that exists. It really exists to me. And I'm sorry that the rest of the world is so goddamn poor. I'm sorry that there's only like a handful of countries outside of Europe that have advanced economies, i.e. economies where they will buy our stuff that we create, physical stuff that we create, manufacturing stuff that we create. Because don't forget, this doesn't affect services. All the financial bods in London, they don't really give a shit about this. They don't care. Their money can cross borders. They're just busy, sitting on their gold coins, banks of money. But for the rest of us, people, especially people working in manufacturing, people working in exports, what happened with Brexit ruined lives. And again, going back to the sort of, the whole thing of like the right evil can't create anything. It can only take something that's there and go, let's destroy it. Trump destroyed US aid, and now Ebola is running riot across at least two countries in Africa, the DRC and Uganda, and it's looking likely that it will spread further. The WTO, there's two countries that have pulled out the WTO, and they are Argentina and America. That's an evil thing to do. It's genuinely evil, because it makes out the case that viruses respect borders, which they do not do. And so I find it absolutely infuriating and heartbreaking that so many people who believe they're doing the right thing, they believed Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson when they said, oh yeah, sunlit uplands. They believed Gove when he said that we should stop listening to experts. They believed the lies. They believed that we would be better off outside of the European Union, and that if we left, the European Union project could collapse, and then we could dance on the ashes. And I'll say that, like, if we hadn't left the EU, I really doubt that Putin would have launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. I think he saw that as an opportunity, which, if you read the Foundations of Geopolitics by Alexander Duggan, or just go and have a look on the Wikipedia page and go and have a look at what it recommends. In fact, let's have a look at the Foundations of geology. No. I mean, the stuff in here is just absolutely crazy. But there you go. Here's some of the things, right? The European, this is what's recommended in this book that came out in 1995 in Russia. And the guy who wrote it, Alexander Duggan, is one of Putin's right-hand men. He said, the United Kingdom, merely described as an extraterritorial floating base of the United States, that's nice, should be cut off from the European Union. He also talked about Finland being absorbed into Russia. Estonia should be given to Germany for some reason. Latvia and Lithuania should be given special status in the Eurasian Russian sphere. And he later writes that they should be integrated back into Russia. These are independent states. Georgia should be dismembered. Abkhazia and United Ossetia, which includes South Ossetia, it should be incorporated into Russia. That's been done. So cutting the United Kingdom off from Europe. Yep, did that. Georgia, yep, did that. Belarus and Moldova should become part of Russia. Now, Belarus has effectively become part of Russia. If you enter Belarus, there's no border controls between Belarus and Russia. You can go back and forth. In fact, if you enter Belarus and you get stamped into Belarus, and then you, as a foreigner, as a tourist, go into Russia, you can be arrested. You can't go into Russia overland through Belarus. And Poland should be granted special status. This may, in the Eurasian sphere, this may involve splitting Poland between German and Russian spheres of influence. This is what he wants to do. Ukraine should be annexed by Russia, because Ukraine as a state has no geopolitical meaning, no particular cultural import or universal significance, no geographic uniqueness, no ethnic exclusiveness. Its certain territorial ambitions represent an enormous danger for all of Eurasia, and without resolving the Ukrainian problem, it is in general senseless to speak about continental politics. The book stresses that there should be a continental Russian Islamic alliance in which Iran is seen as a key ally. The book used the term Moscow-Tehran axis. Azerbaijan could be split up or given to Iran. That's nice, little present there. Russia needs to create geopolitical shocks within Turkey. These can be achieved by employing Kurds, Armenians, and other minorities to attack and undermine the Turkish regime. The book regards the Caucasus, that's Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, as Russian territory. And also the territories of Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan. Also mentioning Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. These were countries that were part of the Soviet Union. He wanted them back. In America, he said that Russia should use its special services within the secret services within the borders of the US and Canada to fuel instability and separatism against neoliberal globalist Western hegemony, to provoke Afro-American racists to create severe backlash to the rotten political state of affairs in the current present-day system of the United States and Canada. Russia should introduce, this is a quote, introduce geopolitical disorder into internal American activity, encouraging all kinds of separatism and ethnic, social, and racial conflicts, actively supporting all dissident movements, extremist, racist, and sectarian groups, thus destabilizing internal political processes in the US. And it would also make sense simultaneously to support isolationist tendencies in American politics. I mean, over the last 20 years, this motherfucker must have come so many times seeing what has happened in around the world that he has wanted to make happen. This evil motherfucker, Alexander Duggan, who, his view of the world is that Russia should dominate. Imperialist Russia should be able to invade wherever it wants, take back countries that it never was in control of. Apparently, the USSR was a coalition of states that wanted to be part of the USSR until they didn't, and now they should be again. But it's not going to be called the USSR. It's just going to be called Greater Russia. Russia is the biggest country in the world, but it's not big enough for some. And Farage is the useful idiot of the Russian regime. And this is what they've been doing for years. This is what Russia as a state have been doing to us for years. This book was written it was published in 1997. It was actually, they made it compulsory reading in schools across Russia. They wanted it to serve as a mighty ideological foundation for preparing a new military command. And when people who voted for Nigel Farage's Brexit then turn around and say, we're going to stand on our own 2 feet if we do this. We're going to stand on our own 2 feet. I heard that a lot. No, actually, we're gonna only stand up through the fact that we're attached to strings that are being puppeted by Vladimir Putin, possibly the most evil man to exist on the planet right now. And I tell you what, there's a lot of competition for that title. Anyway, business as usual is restored. Elle's talking about a man's rocket. Ooh, misses. Should we start another goal? Sorry for going off on one about Brexit there, but Nigel Farage will always be tied into Brexit, even though he's trying to distance himself from it because it's been such an unmitigated disaster. Nothing good has come from Brexit, but I'm seeing, this line that I saw online the other day where someone was asked straight up what Brexit wasn't done properly, what Brexit was, and they were asked what would you like, specifically what would you like to see change with our relationship with Europe that would make things better for you. And they were like, I don't care about that. I don't care about trade around the world. I don't care about the British economy. I don't care about lives and dreams and hopes and aspirations that have been torn asunder by this. All I care about, they didn't say all this. I'm just being, illustrative. They just said, all I care about is I want you to cry like you did the day after the referendum vote. It's all they care about. It's all they care about. Chris C. So while it's a good idea to take a suspect's word that they are injured, it quickly diminishes genuine people who have been injured or suffering a crisis. It quickly diminishes genuine. Why does that? I don't understand, Chris. I don't want to take you to task on that. So while it's a good idea to take suspect's word that they are injured, it quickly diminishes genuine people who have been injured or suffering a crisis. I don't think it does. I just think in situations like this, you need to err on the side of caution. We all live in a mad world. It's all going to shit, and we can't do shit. So let's listen. Aphex Twin, Aphex Twin, fantastic music. Terrifying video, the Come to Daddy video by Chris Cunningham. Still gives me nightmares. Business as usual. I've read that one. Yak Taxi. Come to Daddy was amazing. Yes, I've just said that. Martin Harrow agreed. I bet it does, you dirty bugger. He's a rocket man. He's a rocket man. I think I've taken as much as I can today. I'm not going to let my anger about Farage or my frustration when trying to express my different views on Brexit ruin my day. That's cool, man. I mean, like I say, Ivan, your mental health has got to come first in all this. So I just hope you get somewhere with. You just mentioned you need your own channel to work, Ivan. It's so difficult. Really, it's really difficult. I can't tell you like how much of a struggle it is to get these bloody channels to actually pay enough money to be able to do them. And even if that's not what you're relying on, just getting eyeballs on what you're doing when there's so much content out there, it can get a little bit dispiriting. But take heart in the fact that, I'm doing this, Maximilian's doing it, he's doing all right, Phil's doing all right out of it. Other people who make these videos online are managing to cut through to a certain extent. But I think the big problem is that Farage and all the privately educated elites that run everything in this country and tell people how to vote and how to think, they've got all the money. It's as simple as that. They've got all the money. They can afford to run shows and do publicity for them and run adverts and get notoriety by getting in the news because they're mates with the people who write the news, mates with the people who make the news. But yeah, my only advice really on this is it's difficult, but you just got to keep at it. Chris says, what I meant is that the boy who cried wolf too many times, people will get worn down by people claiming they are injured when they're not. When a genuine case comes along, they might. Well, yeah, but I was talking about the guidelines, Chris. I'm not talking about like the guidelines should be if you turn up in a situation and someone says in that situation, whether they're the victim or whether they are seen as the perpetrator or the person you're going to arrest, if they say I am injured, you have to make sure they're not injured before you do anything. But not believe them or give them the same level of care needed. Well, that's it. I mean, they have to. I mean, they have to believe them. In the same way that we should believe women when they say they've been sexually assaulted. Just believe women. That's it. That's the trick. That's the one weird trick that allows for the patriarchy to just fuck the fuck off, is we trust women. And yes, there will be a tiny minority of women who will lie, who will use the system. But fine, come down like a ton of bricks on people who do that. But otherwise, if a victim says this happened to me, the presumption should be, okay, we believe you. Otherwise, when we say presumed innocent, well, you're presuming that the person who's making the accusation is guilty of perjury and wasting police time. So, what one person's guilty or the other person's guilty of something. So if you're going to take it as, well, we have to pretend that we think, that the perpetrator in this sex crime is presumed innocent until proven guilty. well, then don't you have to do that for the victim as well? You have to presume that they are innocent of lying to you and making it up until it's proved that they actually did lie. So yeah, it's I think case by case, the guidance needs to be there, and this situation can never be allowed to happen again. I will say as well, this is very rare. This is exceptionally rare. I can't think off the top of my head, and you might be able to look something up and tell me in the chat. I can't think of another situation where something like this has happened, where this exact situation has happened. I think it's incredibly, incredibly rare, where it's been a stranger, it's been someone, an ethnic minority, attacking a white person, and then claiming that they were racially abused, the police not believing the victim. And yeah, I guess what might not have been obvious to the police when they turned up that the person had been stabbed, but he did say, like, the body cam footage, he says, I've been stabbed, I'm injured. Yeah. My bad, Graham. Yes, the guidelines do need looking at, but I'm sure they already state something similar about providing medical care to those claiming to be injured. Yeah. I think they do, and that's why I think the police fucked up in this situation. And mitigating circumstances, it was a rare situation. I can't think of a time that it's happened before. I don't think it'll happen again, hopefully, in my lifetime. But yeah, we need to make sure that it never happens again. And the police who respond to this crime needed to need to be asked, but into the inquiry and asked, what the fuck is going on here? What the fuck is going on? But yeah, I don't think the police probably, I don't know, but I don't think they probably didn't go into that situation with malintent. I don't think they turned up and thought, I hope our actions result in the death of this kid. I very much doubt that. And it's just, this is an incident. So, okay, it's been shit. We need an inquiry. We need to make sure that lessons are actually bloody learned for a change, and it never happens again. We need to make sure this never happens again. My big beef is with all this is Nigel Farage using it for his own political ends to further his. There's a by-election happening right now in Makerfield, and he's using this to gain votes. Which is disgusting. The Nowak family have explicitly asked people, politicians, not to use Henry's death to spread division and hatred. And they're the established facts, of what's happened. Nigel Farage has explicitly ignored the wishes of a grieving family who lost their young boy, right? He has looked at what they've said and gone, fuck you. I don't give a shit what you want. I don't give a shit about you. I don't give a shit about Henry. All I want to do is further my political aims and make more money for myself, because that's all Nigel Farage wants to do. That's why he did Brexit. That's why he came back into politics. He was given £5 million to come back into politics, to spread his own unique form of cruelty across the nation for the betterment of the nation of Russia. Don't forget, he wants to loosen up the controls on cryptocurrency, allowing the Russian state to get more money in and out of the country to avoid sanctions and give Russia access to the city of London, unrestricted access, to move as much money into London and out of London as they want. London's already nicknamed Londongrad, isn't it? For all the money that's come in from Russia, buying up these houses in Belgravia that are now sitting derelict. Rotten Millionaires Row has become Rotten Row because they've just been bought and just left there to accumulate value. Hey, Reagan Elite's in the chat. Hey, Reagan, how you doing, mate? Or Vegan Elite, sorry. Most meatheads do not know what a Sikh is, for fuck's sake. That's very true. Murders in general are rare in our country. A single person being cut down before their time is one too many, but I'm glad I live in a safe country like ours, says Faith. Yeah. I mean, it is very rare. Thankfully, it's very rare because humans don't like murdering each other. They really don't. You know, it takes a lot for someone to actually go through with that. And when we when we think about ways of preventing these things from happening, more community is always the way that I would go about this. People say we should. Back in the day, people said, "Oh, we should ban movies, we should ban video games, we should ban this, we should ban that," and it doesn't make any difference at all. In fact, the murder rate's gone down as the violence in movies and the violence in video games has gone up. I don't think it makes any difference at all. But what does make a difference is community, not just giving people something to do, but also allowing people to move and be seen within their community, within their group, you know, the local community, and in that way, community serves as a safety valve, if you like. Not maybe not. No, that's a bad expression. I'm trying to think of a good analogy to use. It acts as a good way of raising the alarm about someone who's not doing so well, and that could be mental health problems. It could be financial problems. It could be a problem with somebody else in the community, or someone, you know, that's close to them, or someone who's going through something. If there's no community around them, no one will know. No one will know, and no one will be there for them. And it's why the right wing want more and more division, separation. It's what they're obsessed with. You go back to Brexit, separation. They wanted to separate us off from our brothers and sisters across Europe. They wanted to separate families. They want us all atomized and addicted to our screens, not talking to anyone, you know, not interacting in any way, because then people are easier to control. And you see time and time again that when you do have strong communities that look out for each other, crime goes down. Not just murder, but all crime goes down because everyone's looking out for each other. And that's the sort of society that I want to live in. But that's a society that throughout my lifetime, since, you know, the 1980s, has been systematically attacked by the rich, by the people who just want to live, you know, behind their fortified estate walls with, you know, the sniper rifles set to take out any trespassers. Most of us don't live like that. And if you look at what these governments have done, successive governments, especially Tory governments, to destroy the high street, to destroy youth clubs, to destroy sure start centres, to destroy any easy way of joining a group, joining a community. They want to stop that because obviously they don't want people to join communities. They want people to be angry and scared and hateful of other groups that they don't know or understand. And as I often say, it's very hard to be racist if you've got actual friends who are black. Not just, I've got a lot of black friends. I've got a lot of Muslim friends. I know a lot of people from Pakistan. No, actual, you know people and they're in your life from all over the world. It's very hard to be xenophobic if you know people who are gay and the people who you know and love, or you're gay yourself. It's hard to be homophobic if you're gay and out. I know there's some people out there who are tremendously homophobic who are actually gay, but you know, wouldn't let anyone know. Or transphobic. It's why there's a great quote by Mark Twain where he said that travel is fatal to prejudice, because it is very, very difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible. I mean, there's a lot of people who have a lot of empathy in their hearts, but it's easier to empathize with people from all different walks of life if you've actually met them in real life. if you've been to these places, if you've gone to these countries and actually seen how people live, which isn't that different from how we live. Chris C, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Farage is only using Henry Nowak's death as a distraction from his £5 million Brexit reward. Yeah, Chris, you're absolutely right, mate. He absolutely is. That's what he's doing, because he's a fucking scumbag. No messing around here. Just Farage is an evil man. He is an evil man. He is out there to stoke division and hatred, and he's doing it for his own ends, right. Bloody Trump and the Iran war. This whole thing is just to distract from the Epstein files. This says police are appointed by the state, so state sanctioned and consent, which is a social contract. It is. Nowak is pronounced Novak. It's a Polish name. Novak. Sorry, it's not Nowak. It's Novak. Okay. You do realize that law policies and laws are influenced by politics. Yeah. I'm going to leave you all now. Says Yak. Taxi. I'll leave you with Orbital and Sleaford Mods, Dirty Rat. The role of police is to keep the peace and enforce the rules. Yeah, but there is we do have policing by consent in this country, which marks us out as different from some other countries, like America, where it's the police are there to enforce the rules. That's it. But in the UK, the police are there at the consent of the people. To police, to offer services that we need to make sure that society functions in a way that doesn't make people feel like that there's no justice and there's no fairness in our society. And so it's a bit more than that. But it is in the UK, policing by consent, which sets it out as different from the mentality in America, which is like policing by having lots of weapons and stuff. It's really grim. Anyway, so I'm going to go over to the papers. I'm going to go to the papers in a moment. Just let me press a few buttons. Let me press a few buttons. Because I have a feeling that this isn't going to work. No, it's not working. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. Okay, so we have Kenny Dalglish there. I have cancer. And there's John Barnes, who reveals he also battled the disease. Fucking cancer, right? I don't want to scare anyone, but like the reality is that they've cured everything else. They've cured everything else. It's dementia or cancer. That's it. That's what's going to take you out. If you don't get hit by a bus, cancer is so difficult to treat. Every single organ of your body can get cancer, including your skin, which is an organ. And there can be lots of different types of cancers that you can get. And some are more aggressive than others. Some, mess you up forever. Some can be left alone. Some need severe treatment to the level of surgery to get rid of the fucking bastards. There's never going to be a one size fits all against cancer in the way that we can find cures for other diseases. We can make a vaccine against smallpox and it just entirely wipes smallpox out completely. We can't do that with cancer. Every individual is unique, and one cancer treatment that works for a particular type of cancer on one patient might not work on another. And so, yeah, it's something that we need to be really aware of, because if cancer is treated early enough, then we can treat it so that there's a good outcome. If it's left too late, often it's too late to perhaps save someone's life. And so yeah, cancer is awareness. It's like, I understand why people look at it and go, oh, fuck, I don't even want to know. Do you know what I mean? Like, why are we even talking about this? It's too depressing. I understand that stance, but at the same time, you need to know what signs to look out for, and need to make sure that if you see any of these signs, straight away go see the doctor. Straight away go see the GP and get it checked out. It's better to be safe than sorry. Ukrainian drones hit Russia's St. Petersburg area, so Ukraine has responded to the massive attack that Russia carried out on Monday night, Tuesday morning. A friend of mine having aggressive chemo at the Christie this very day, says Mr. Tisk. Takiyaki says, just because someone's father said not to discuss it, absolutely insane, and obviously welcomed by the left, who only not to have to discuss it. We're discussing it. What are you talking about? We're literally discussing it. Then why, if people don't want this type of policing where someone claims racism and it changes everything, it's not worth political discussion? It is worth political discussion in the House of Commons. Yeah, they had a big discussion about it yesterday. They had a debate about it, right? Whereas there's a difference between that discussion and someone who is a populist leader propped up by foreign billionaires who give him millions of pounds, foreign billionaires who make all their money from laundering money out of Russia, making a statement, talking about white hot fury about this particular incident, this case, which is a bit of a one-off case. If you can name me a string of all the cases that are exactly like this, be my guest. But if you haven't got the evidence to say, yeah, this is a regular occurrence and we really need to do something about it. Whereas in America, for instance, when you look at the death of George Floyd, that kind of thing was a regular incident, right? In America, the American police force, they don't have to report when they kill someone or someone dies in custody, or they shoot someone. They don't have to report it to the FBI, right? Unless they want to. So what the Guardian newspaper, and I think it was the New York Times, teamed up to do back in the 2010s, they went for an entire year looking at news reports and taking the news reports of people who died in custody in America, American police. And that year, over 1,180 people were killed by the police in America. And I know they've got a bigger population than us, but then you look how many people were killed that same year in the UK, well, in England and Wales that we have figures for, it was 550. It was less than half of the people killed by the police in America were killed by murderers in the United Kingdom. Oh, well, in England and Wales. Sorry, Scotland was separate stat. But that, to me, speaks absolute volumes that America's got a big problem with people dying in police custody, or people being murdered by the police and the police getting away with it because it's the police, right? Here in the UK, this sort of thing hardly ever happens. It's very rare for someone to die in custody. It does happen. It does happen, absolutely. I think that this case was an absolute fuck up, but I don't see that it would have been much different had, for instance, it been the case of someone claiming that they had been mugged by this person who they had actually stabbed. And yeah, I don't mind there being a discussion about it. Obviously, I'm discussing it this morning. People in the chat are discussing it. What I do have a problem with is divisive millionaire twats like Nigel Farage with his Coots bank account, who profits out of division, who feathers his nest, his £1.4 million home that he bought for cash, his £800,000 home that he bought in Clacton for his girlfriend, and he avoided stamp duty by saying that she afforded that on her waitress's income. It was her first home, apparently. No stamp duty for Nigel. The guy's an absolute crook. He's never been to Clacton. He doesn't even know what it looks like. He couldn't find it on the map. He's missed the last 70-odd votes in Parliament. He doesn't do his job because to him, his job is making money. It's the only reason he got involved in politics in the first place, was to make money. And he will sing from any hymn sheet that's put in front of him if he's told to by his puppet masters, these foreign billionaires who tell him what to think and what to do. And he's happy to do it because he's a grifter. He is an absolute scummy grifter. But yes, it comes down to this. The family did not say, we don't want this discussed in Parliament. They said, we want, justice to be done. We want an inquiry into this, but we don't want it to be used as an excuse to sow division, further pain, further suffering for innocent people who've done nothing wrong other than being born a different colour, or born into a different faith, or born in a different place, popped out their mum in the wrong coordinate of longitude and latitude. It's so small-minded and petty, the way we obsess about the exact coordinate that someone popped out their mum's snatch. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's it. That defines you for life. That exact circumstance defines you for life. And it's maddening. It's maddening. And I wish that we had a society which built people up and didn't make people feel like the only thing that they had in their lives to be proud of is the colour of their skin. I would like people to be proud of what they've done, what they've achieved. And it doesn't have to be something huge. It doesn't have to be a Guinness World Record or anything mad like that. But just getting married, having kids, having friends, going to the pub, just everyday life. Just like achieving that balance, being happy. That should be the goal. Not necessarily rich, but happy. There's a lot of rich people who aren't happy. Jesus Christ, there's a lot of rich people who aren't happy. I think about this when you see these posh, privately educated twats on TV. There's so many of them. I mean, we're basically drowning in them. Go to privateschoolmafia.com if you want a full list. Not all of them are twats, but all of them are privately educated. And they go on TV and do all this horrible stuff and get involved in politics. And it's like, why? I mean, you've got enough money. You could just be having a good time. I say this all the time about J.K. Rowling and her transphobia. She could just be having a good time. Why is she doing this? Why is she so obsessed? Something's gone wrong in her head. She's not happy. She's a really, really miserable motherfucker who has more money than I could ever imagine. And here's the thing, once someone's got more than 100 million, or even 10 million in a given year, what else do they have to buy? You can only have so many meals in it. You can only have so many Michelin star meals in a year because you can't fit more in your stomach. You can buy loads of TVs, I guess, but you can only really watch one at a time. Unless you're Batman, you have a whole fucking bank of televisions to watch every channel at once, which is a weird thing to do. I mean, it looks cool in a movie, but practical things, practicalities here, practicalities. What can you do? What can you do once you're earning more than $10 million pounds a year, right? What can you do with that money? You can't go to more places than the 759 UNESCO World Heritage Sites or however many it is around the world. Go to them all, fine. Go more than once, but then what? I'm going to visit all these. Okay, go on then. Fine. Just spend your money. Go visit these places. Buy some things in the local knick-knack shop. Take some souvenirs home. Buy yourself a didgeridoo. Fine. What do you do after that? You've done all that, and you've still got millions and millions of pounds or dollars left over. And so what they invariably do is they go, I'm still not happy. I've done all this stuff, and I'm still not happy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make other people's lives a misery. And they go into politics when they don't need to. Do you think Nigel Farage needs his £90,000 a year that he gets from being an MP? Like fuck he does. That's why he never turns up. He's never hosted a face-to-face surgery in 2 years of being the MP for Clacton. He's hardly ever in Parliament. Like I say, he's missed the last 70 odd votes there. He doesn't give a shit. Nigel Farage doesn't give a shit. He's earned £2 million in his first year of being an MP, and that's on top of the $5 million he was given by Christopher Holborn, or whatever his Thai name is. Guy who went to live in Thailand for reasons. So yeah, black dog barking. I'm beginning to suspect a false flag by the despicable British establishment. The cops' words dismissing the stabbing seem needlessly callous. This looks like a false flag to me by the right. Black dog parking. I mean, sometimes it's just just got to take the evidence that you see. The evidence of your own eyes and ears. They fucked up. They fucked up. But I don't see everything as that. I don't want to happen or don't. That wasn't great. As a false flag attack. I mean, it's a bit difficult to set up and why. What would it achieve for the police? What would it achieve for the government in charge at the moment? Anything's an achievement if you decide it is. Same with rewards. I'm much happier after realizing that. Yeah, absolutely, Gallifreyan man. And I think these people who've got all this money feel like they've achieved, but no one's given them, I don't know, the medal to say they're a very special boy. Whatever it is that they feel like they should get. And they're like, what can I do with this extra leftover money? I shall do evil. And it's just, I don't know. That to me is why I think that wealth should be capped at 10 million. That's it. Because after that, people just do evil shit with it. And it doesn't make them happy. How many celebrities do we have to see kill themselves? Through taking drugs or crashing a car when they're drunk into a tree, or a sports car, obviously. How many miserable celebrities and miserable millionaires and miserable billionaires do we have to encounter before we realise that money doesn't bring happiness? I'll tell you what, an area where people are doing all right, all of them, that brings happiness. No one needs to be a multi-millionaire. George only. Couldn't agree more. All need in life is decent home and enough food and people you love and love you in your life. Yeah. Five said I could spend $1 billion easily. Would involve buying a theme park and make people happy through good rides, food and discounts for groups such as schools and those less able to enjoy such places. Yeah, that'd be cool. Set up a theme park. Breaking news: Bad Knocker said we also need to stop the idea that racism is something that only happens to ethnic minorities perpetrated by white people. Well, I mean, it kind of is. I'm sorry, but there was an element of racism when I was thrown in jail in Congo. If I'd been Congolese, if I'd been Gabonese, if I'd been Nigerian, I don't think they would have put me in jail. But then I don't know. I don't know. But if I wanted to say, oh yeah, that was definitely racist that time I was thrown in jail in Africa, I didn't feel that way. I just felt like, well, I'm a foreigner in this land, and I was wandering around being a tourist in a country that just does not get tourism. So it's like, what the fuck are you doing here? So it was kind of understandable, but did I feel like I've been penalised for being white? Not really. I thought I was penalised for being in the wrong place at the wrong time more than anything. Maybe there was a racial dimension to it. I don't know, but compared with what Whitey here did, if we're going to regard ourselves as an entire race, what Whitey did here in the Congo, I mean, fucking hell. Whatever, I didn't want them to throw the book at me, but in this greater scheme of things, there's the Belgians going to the Congo and killing 10 million people. 10 million people. And then there's me spending a few nights in sleeping on the floor in the jail cell. Halfway there again. Love you all, peeps. Oh, that's really nice of you. Thank you, Martin. That British couple in Iran in jail lost their appeals, I read. Yeah. Racism cuts in all directions, but has more force when wielded by those with privilege, which is obviously the minorities, right? Yeah, very good point, Gallifreyan man. I think we're going to look at racist societies and societies that have, been racist in the past. It's generally been the white people who have been racist against, in France, against the Algerians, in America, against the African Americans, in this country, against Muslims. Yeah, generally speaking. I know, not all the cases, and lots of Jews are obviously white and they've been discriminated against for centuries. And for most Jews, unless they were dressed wearing a kippah, wearing, with the paya, the curly hair at the side of their head, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. He wouldn't know someone was Jewish or not, generally speaking. But they've been discriminated against. So um, there's a lot of different factors in this, but as uh, the way I sort of see it, as someone who could feasibly claim as being a victim of racism against white people and suffering as a result, I don't know. I kind of just think, well, the I feel like the exception, whereas racism in America feels like the rule. Like so much so that when I was living in Panama, one of the guys who was working on the TV show that I won came to stay with me, right? And he was obviously black. He's mixed race, but he was obviously black. He had a big afro, like he was obviously black, right? And we went out to for the day. He went ziplining on Bastamentos Island, and there was a couple from Georgia, a white couple from Georgia, and we had a few drinks with them afterwards. And the guy told a really racist joke, and Cole's like, I'm black. Hello, hello, hello." And I was just like, my jaw hit the ground. And the guy in the couple said, "Oh, I didn't realize you were black." I mean, it's unacceptable to tell a racist joke any time of the day, no matter what the company is. "I didn't realize you were black." And I said to Cole afterwards, like, "What the fuck was that?" And he said, "Oh, it happens a lot in America. This racism is just so embedded in society. And for them, they probably haven't met many black people." I'm like, "But they're from Georgia. They're from Georgia." And he goes, "Yeah, but it's so segregated, Graham. You don't understand. It's so segregated. It's like apartheid still. You have black communities, you have white communities." And I'm like, "What? Still now?" And he's like, "Yeah, still now." And that was shocking to me. Systemic racism. We saw systemic racism in what happened to George Floyd, right? We saw systemic racism in what happened um, with Stephen Lawrence, who was stabbed to death by a group of racist lads who did it as a racial crime, and the police turned a blind eye pretty much and allowed them to get away with it for the longest time. Saz, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. That's kind of you. And Andrew Ray says, "My PSA readings are very high, so got my MRI scan with contrast for my prostate this afternoon. Wish me luck." Good luck, mate. Good luck. To older guys, keep checking your PSA often. Andrew, if you're still there, can you just ask me? Can you just answer me what PSA stands for? Because I don't necessarily know what that stands for. Just please let me know, because I'm not too over. I'm saying we need to know more about cancer and things. I'm not too. I'm not too well across that. Although I am entering Sniper's Alley when it comes to cancer in the next few years. Because isn't it like from 50 to 60? That's like Sniper's Alley for cancer. Chris says, "But what I suspect the likes of Farage and the Tiny Tom are, after not allowing the UK to treat non-whites, is similar to how American police do. There's nothing to do with changing for the better." Pete Dencat says, "The thing with us humans is no matter how tolerant we are with each other, we'll always find something to resent each other for. It's a damn shame." Well, yeah, I mean, I wish we weren't like that. I wish we weren't so jealous and I guess needy. I guess it's not a great word to use, but I wish we could all just chill the fuck out, to be honest with you, across the board. But I do feel like there is a systemic problem. There is a problem with racism amongst police officers, and in this case, overcompensating perhaps for issues that have come up in the past with police officers being seen as being racist, so they had to be seen as not being racist in this situation. But it wouldn't have been racist to check the victim, the person they were trying to arrest, Henry, to make sure that he was okay. Prostate cancer marker. How prostate specific antigen. How do you check that? So what's the process to go about that, Andrew? Can you kind of inform us in the chat, and I'll read it out when you do. So is this something where because is prostate cancer one of those cancers where it can develop and you don't feel anything until it's too late, or is it something that you can get checked on regularly, like women go for smear tests, is it that kind of thing? Please let me know, because the more we know, the better about this. Chris says, yes, she's jumping on the political bandwagon, the vile person that she is. In fairness, says Califane Man, Badenoch has never seen a political bandwagon that she didn't jump on. Yeah, that's very true. Thank you very much to Lee Corn for the £5 super chat. Surely Farage's comments of incitement to violence and therefore illegal. Also incitement to violence against the police. Surely that's even worse. Yeah, I agree, Lee. I think that's what he should be done for. In the same way that I think he should have been done 2 years ago when he made the comments about what happened in Southport. Absolutely, mate. But also, thank you very much, because it allows me to do this for the second time this morning. 3, 2, 1. Oh, hang on. Oh, fuck. I pressed the wrong button. I pressed the end button. Press the end the show button. Sorry, prematurely ended the show there. Got off at Edge Hill, if you know what I mean. So thanks very much to Lee there, and that allows me to go 3, 2, 1. Confetti! It worked. Oh, it's been a long week. It's been a long week. I know of two black people, biological brothers. One of them certainly pissed me off more than anyone I've ever met, but he's a bit of a C unit and also happens to be my cousin's family. Is like, well, yeah, dark 4x4, as long as your prejudice against the person is caused by them being a twat and not by them being a different colour or being a different religion or being a different, being born in the wrong place. Being born on another rock. How dare you be born on a different rock? Ah! And it's so arbitrary as well, isn't it? Isn't it so arbitrary that we regard someone from, say, Normandy as a foreigner when 800 years ago they would have been part of our country? When we regard someone from Ireland, from Northern Ireland as British, they have a British passport, they're part of the United Kingdom. But had things gone differently, had the British respected the referendum in, I think, 1921 for Irish independence, they wouldn't have just drawn a little line around the 6 counties of Ulster to say, oh, these are staying with us. 6 of the 9 counties to say, yeah, these ones are staying with us. These ones are going to stay British. It's so arbitrary. This idea that you're born in one place and therefore you're allowed to go somewhere or you're not. Don't forget, if you're part of the Commonwealth, until 1973, you can move around to anywhere you wanted within the Commonwealth. It's why you have people from Guyana, people from Fiji, people from India coming to the UK, and that was fine. A version of freedom of movement, like what we eventually had with the European Union, which was taken away from us by the people who have kept their freedom of movement. Farage has kept his freedom of movement. I can't stress this enough. They didn't. What they took from us, what they took from me, and what they took from you, they did not take from themselves. And if that doesn't piss you off, it really should. I'm sorry, but that should really piss you off. That should. But even if you have no intention of using that freedom to go and visit places and travel the world, whatever, travel around Europe, even if you have no intention, don't take it from the people who do want to do that. Don't take it from. Why take it? That's just mean. It's like saying, I don't like this movie. It's a movie. I don't like musicals. And so I'm going to make an edict to say there should be no more musicals. Other people like them. It's fine. Just let them watch the fucking musical. Okay, if you're checking things, make sure to get a colonoscopy as well. Apparently bum cancer is on the rise and you won't know. Had a mate die from it, sadly, says Oscar. I'm really sorry to hear that, Oscar. Chris says, also, can the media stop calling this a protest? Says Chris, it was a riot, pure and simple. It was a bunch of right-wing football hooligans just wanting any excuse to attack the police. Yeah. Could someone explain to me how pensioners peacefully demonstrating holding Palestinian flags are more likely to be arrested than knobheads violently attacking the police? Well, I assume that those people who attack the police will be arrested in the same way that after the Southport riots in the weeks that came afterwards, they were arrested and taken into custody and charged quite quickly, actually. But as for people peacefully holding Palestinian flags, Lee, I think you're oversimplifying it a little bit there, because it wasn't that they were just holding Palestinian flags. It was that they were supporting a prescribed group. And although you may agree or disagree whether Palestine Action should be a prescribed group, it is a prescribed group, and therefore you're not allowed to go out and say, "Yay, this thing is great" or something. I don't know. And I said at the time, I'd rather people did just wave Palestinian flags and pushed for the recognition of the state of Palestine, which we have, but also more sanctions to be brought in against Israel, against the government of Israel for what the crimes that they're clearly committing and have committed. I would rather see support for Palestine and the Palestinian state than support for Palestine Action. And people did that as a stunt to get themselves arrested, and I don't see how it helped the people of Palestine. If that's your objective, to help people in Palestine, great. Wave a flag, go to a protest. You don't need to support a prescribed group in the UK. I mean, it's just my take on it. And I know that you may think that there shouldn't be a prescribed group, but it is. And people were specifically told if they turn up wearing a T-shirt that says Palestinian Action, yay, they would be arrested. In the same way that if they wore a T-shirt saying Hamas, yay, they'll be arrested, or maybe not allowed in the country to give a talk. At this point, I view Brexiters who still believe on the same level as TERFs. Both are groups who want to take my rights away. Of course, Brexiters succeeded. They did take your rights away. And I'm hoping that the TERFs fail so miserably, because it's where if you are going to try and change things massively for the people in this country, like Brexit, or like with not allowing trans people to use the bathroom, you're changing the fabric of society. And the only way you can get away with it is it's something that is morally correct, like legalizing being homosexual, legalizing gay marriage, right? And financially sound. We didn't lose any money by allowing gay people to be gay, there was no money to be lost. In fact, there was money to be made, kind of, because there were fewer people going to jail for being gay. So there were fewer people going to jail as a result of that particular crime. I know at the time, 70s and 80s, you obviously had a huge rise in the number of serial killers. That's something that generation didn't cope with very well. But by and large, and the prison population did explode around that time, but you weren't putting people in jail for being gay. So there was a financial incentive to legalize being gay. And again, with marriages, there was a financial incentive. It wasn't just the right thing to do. There was a financial incentive. Whereas for this new guidance for trans people, not only is it grossly immoral, but it's also financially ruinous to many organizations, because people are going to sue left, right, and fucking center. They are going to sue. Do you know what's happening right now? There's a group from America, one of these transphobic, anti-women, anti-abortion, anti-rights for minorities group from America that is actually suing Parkrun. They're suing, Parkrun that people do each week? Yeah, been going on for like 20 years now or something. They're suing Parkrun for allowing transgender women to run. And Parkrun's like, everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome. Like, no, we need to have a separate run for trans women. What? Why? Everyone can just run. It's fine. It's non-competitive. It's not like you get it's not like you get a trophy for like coming first. You don't in Parkrun. You get rewards like T-shirts and stuff for doing your 50th Parkrun, for doing your 100th Parkrun. It doesn't matter what position you came. You could have walked the course and come last, dead last. Doesn't matter. It's not what Parkrun is about. It's non-competitive, and yet they are suing Parkrun, and they are horrifically fucking well funded. This group from America who are doing this, and it's just really fucking grim. And so when you have something that changes the fabric of society in our country, and it is not only grossly immoral, but also financially ruinous and just unworkable, it's going to end in disaster. And I will tell you this now, Gallifreyan Ren and my other trans friends watching this, they will fail. I absolutely guarantee they will fucking fail because this is untenable. It cannot work. There's no realistic way that they can achieve whatever the fuck it is they want to achieve. There has always been trans people. There will always be trans people. And although they want to try and shut trans people out of everyday life, they're going to have a fucking hard time doing it. And companies are going to get sued left, right, and centre. It's not going to be worth their while to police the fucking toilets. Absolute disgusting, ridiculous, and idiotic policies from Labour, who should know better. My hope is that Andy Burnham's not going to be as fucking stupid on this as Starmer is. I think Starmer's been a fucking idiot. Andrew says, dreading Kemi's question re Farage and the Tommy riots in PMQs later. Yeah, so am I, mate. So am I. It's going to be a shit fest, isn't it? Listen, I'm going to be doing the PMQs with Graham Hughes at 12 o'clock today. I'm going to be wrapping it up at about, I normally wrap it on at the end for a little bit, but I'm probably going to wrap it up for about 10 to. And then I'm going to start at 1 o'clock. I'm going to be doing Graham Rights and Wrongs. Listen, it's very niche, I know, but this week I've managed to write 2 chapters of Top of the World, the sequel to Man of the World. And thank you so much to everyone, especially Gallifreyan Men and others who have jumped into the chat and going, oh, we're watching, whatever. I know it's probably boring as fuck for people watching me write, but for me, it's really spurred me on. Like, I should have done this 15 fucking years ago. I'm talking about events that happened over 16 years ago now. And although, some of the things are fresh in my mind and I've got my blog to run off, it's been this insurmountable obstacle in my head for so long. And I just really want to thank the community here on the channel for helping me. And I say this all the time about like how you help me mentally because like I get to talk about all the shit that's going on and rage against Farage and Trump and all the gobshites out there, Orban and Putin and stuff. And we get to celebrate when they come a cropper and terrible things happen to them. Not terrible enough so far, but come on, a boy can dream. But I really want to thank you. I really want to thank you because you have helped me do better, and not just in my own life as in achieving things, but also it just in terms of having these discussions in the morning, and we don't always agree on every little thing, obviously, but I just love the way that the people in the chats, the socialites, are generally happy just to get along and maybe have some minor disagreements, but generally speaking, not being horrible, not being mean, not being nasty. And it's hard. I know it's hard. Like, you've only got, 140 characters or something to try and get your point across, which is very difficult if it's a point that is covered in nuance and things like that. But I just said, thank you. Thank you. I think you're all bloody fantastic, to put it mildly. So, yeah. My point is, Gallifreyan Ren, my point is the party itself, the movers and shakers, will be the same. They'll just be wearing a different face. Which party is that? Is that Andy? Are you talking about Andy Burnham and Labour? I am hoping that they're going to go in a different direction. Because there's 2 things are going to happen at once, right? First of all, they're going to discover very, very quickly that this trans guidance is unworkable. And then secondly, they're going to have a new leader who will want to set out his stall as differently to the previous guy. It feels very much to a lot of us that the Labour Party that we've got now are behaving more like, I don't want to say like a continuation of the Tories, because where the Tories left off when they left office, they were an absolute screaming fucking clown car on fire going off a cliff. They were fucked, right? They'd run out of ideas years ago. They were wasting hundreds of billions of pounds on this Rwanda scheme. They'd done their Brexit, which had fucked us economically wise, and also socially had taken this huge impact. My friends who had never suffered any racial abuse in their entire lives, the day after Brexit, bang, it was like someone flicked a switch and they started being racially abused openly because people were given the green light to say, yay, racially abuse people. Like, Brexit has so many facets and they're all fucking awful. And if someone could give me a good reason for Brexit, 10 years later, I'm still yet to hear one, because the only reasons people ever give are bullshit. They're not true. They're not factored into like reality. And I think that Brexit will fail eventually. We will rejoin the EU. I'll guarantee it within my lifetime. Might take another 10 years, but we will eventually rejoin the EU. I guarantee it. But also, I see that this guidance for how to treat trans people, the Labour government under Andy Burnham, if he wins the by-election, if he becomes Prime Minister, are going to have to address it. Are going to have to address it and go, this is not working, because it can't work. Brexit can't work. What's Brexit? What's the motive? What's the agenda? We can stand on our 2 feet. We can't. End of. We haven't provided enough food for ourselves since the 1830s. Why do you think Britain was nicking all the potatoes from Ireland in the Great Famine in the 1840s? Why do you think Britain was taking all the food from all the rice from Bengal during World War II, leading to the Bengal famine? Why do you think Britain was taking? Because we didn't have enough food here to feed ourselves, and we haven't for nearly 200 years. Standing on our own 2 feet. Okay, what about oil? What about energy? Do we have enough energy to just make our own energy? No, we fucking don't. There was a time in the 80s and 90s, because of the fuel that we were getting in, the oil that we were getting in from the North Sea, yes, we were objectively self-sufficient, right? For oil and gas for a little bit. But that ran out. That all ran out because the easy to get to oil is gone. What's left? These new banks. There's hardly anything. These new banks of fields. Sorry, not banks. Rosebank. It's a field. These new oil fields. They've got fuck all oil in them. So why it's not worth. It's just not worth drilling the oil out, especially in the current climate. Climate change, climate catastrophe, and so whenever you get a political situation where it cannot succeed. Apartheid cannot succeed. Fascism cannot succeed, because it takes too much effort. It takes too much policing of everyday life, and there'll come a point where people are like, I am sick to death of this, and the people in charge, they'll be gotten rid of, and we'll create something new. It might not be perfect. It very rarely is. But when something is absolutely unworkable and untenable, like Brexit, like the trans guidance, it will eventually collapse under the weight of its own contradictions. So I have hope for that, and I have hope that the trans community come out of this on the other side stronger, with more rights, with more with more respect, because I think that the trans community deserves respect than ever before. And I know you might think I'm a little bit of I'm a little bit naive saying that, especially my trans friends who are really going through it at the moment. But if this doesn't show government overreach into people's lives, into people's personal lives, dictating where they can go for a piss, for fuck's sake, then I don't know, I don't know what will. And if the government under Burnham not only amend the Equalities Act, so it's women means trans women as well as cisgender women, that I can see them doing that, but also I can see them clamping down on funding for political parties like Refuck being funded by foreign billionaires or foreign-based billionaires. I can also see them coming down like a ton of bricks on the grift of people like Nigel Farage and saying you can't have a second job. If you're a politician, if you're an MP, there's only 650 MPs. Take your fucking job seriously. That is your only job. That is your only job. You're not allowed to have another one. Or if you do have another job, do what Phil says and you're taxed at 100%. Day after the Brexit vote, we were asked when leaving UK. Partner's been here for 17 years and a citizen at this point. At that point, bastards. I know. Same thing happened to my friends. Honestly, it breaks my heart. There was an elderly couple that I knew. The woman was from Spain originally, and the guy was from Poland, and they were having a horrific time because he had dementia. He had dementia, and he didn't have a British passport. He didn't need one, and they had lived in the UK for decades, and suddenly their position in the UK was being questioned. Would he have to go? Would he have to go back to Poland? Do you know what I mean? Like, just really, really, really sad. Really, really sad. I look pretty scary today, says Diz. Woohoo. Watching you write top of the world is also interesting to understand your creative writing process. I'm glad our presence in the chat is giving you extra motivation. Thanks, Alexa. Yeah, and motivation's a really good word here because I feel like I was really demotivated after writing Man of the World and doing the audio book for it, and then touting it around to publishers in the UK and saying, I've already published this book. You know, what do you think? Have a read through. And I got stuff back saying, yeah, it's great, but we're not interested. You know, and I had a meeting with a guy who wasn't a literary agent. He was a theatrical agent down in London, Howard. And he basically made it clear to me that in this country, it's nigh on impossible to get an agent or to get a literary agent or to get a book deal unless you went to school with the people who are literary agents or run the book companies. There's only like 5 big book companies in Britain, and they're all run by very, very posh people whose circles I do not swim in. I love swimming in circles. But yeah, it's been really good. So thank you. Anyway, potato can be made. I'll eat it. I'm with Garen. Potato filled jacket potato. Okay. There's a lot of potato in that, L. Thanks very much. Hey, listen, we've got 5 minutes left, so we're going to quickly go over to the papers. I've set the target for 1, so if someone wants to drop in 1 super chat, then we'll have insta confetti. I might even go for a Boba Fetty, if you like. But yeah, obviously the newspapers are absolutely dominated by the news stories about the murder of Henry Nowak. We've got the Daily Mail here. Kemi, this needs to be a Stephen Lawrence moment. Here's where I stand on this, right? I think that this is a procedural problem with the police, that they turned up at something and they didn't believe the person who said they'd been injured, and they should have believed them, or at least investigated that first before arresting them. Okay. I don't see this as a systemic problem. The murder of Stephen Lawrence was the culmination of a systemic problem: institutional racism within the Metropolitan Police. A structural problem within the police force that meant that these kind of things happened time and time again. We see, people getting stopped and searched. It was way more likely to be a black man rather than a white man. And so calling it, saying that it needs to be a Stephen Lawrence moment, I think is it's not. I don't think that it's gauging like with like. I really don't think this is the same as what happened with Stephen Lawrence, when the police fucked up kind of on purpose because they were racist. Simple as that. And the racism wasn't just in the Met, it was across forces all over the UK. Systemic problem. Do I think there is a systemic problem with police officers being racist towards white people who have been injured and then arresting them when they're saying they've been in. No, this is like, it does feel very much like this is a very exceptional case. Whereas Stephen Lawrence wasn't an exceptional case. George Floyd wasn't an exceptional case. And that's why there was such a fuss made about it. And that's where it came to the point of people saying, well, this has gone too far. That's my stance on it. There needs to be, I mean, this is, to me, I don't want to sound like I'm just being glib about this, but there seems to be an easy fix to this. It's like you change the guidelines. So no matter what the crime is that has been, that people have said has been committed, whether it's a bag snatching or racial abuse or whether it's a physical crime, GBH, whatever it is, if someone involved in the crime scene in any way says, I have been injured, I am injured, I have been stabbed, it is the first thing the police need to do is check that out, and make sure that they're all right. And if they're all right, fine, arrest them, whatever, But I think that I think this is a fuck up of procedure, which I assume is already there, but obviously not drilled into these police officers enough, rather than a systemic problem. And if you can point me to all the other cases where something like this has happened, great, please do. But let me know in the chat, because I've not really heard about it. I've not suffered from reverse racism from the police ever. Neither has anyone that I've known. So yeah. Boba Fetty for L. Oh, that's so kind. Okay, well, I'll definitely do that, Martin Harrow. And before I do that, I'm just going to check out SG's super chat. £10 super chat. We'll try and join you later when you write. Please, could you put in a link again to the blog post you wrote after your sister passed away? I wanted my daughter to read it as well, but I've lost the link. Okay, just because you asked so nicely. Edition 10 things about you. Blog entry. For God's sake. Right, I'm just going to I can't Google it. That's really annoying. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, I need to make my website more Googleable. The 3 most amazing things about you. There you go. The picture of your big sis holding me as a baby. There we go. Okay, that's for SG there. That you can jump on that at the end of this, because I'm going to wrap up in a minute. But before I do that, this is for Boba Fett. This is for Martin. This is for L. We're going to release the Boba Fetty. Boba Fetty. Look at me. I'm Boba Fetty. Sorry. Anyway, we do like to amuse ourselves on this channel. Why didn't they listen? Front cover of the Mirror there. Starmer's messages with Mandelson could be permanently lost. Uwak. Review of race guidance to end two-tier policing. Two-tier policing? What? It's not two-tier. What are you talking about? If anything, the two-tier policing is generally against people of minorities. Lifting weights every week has a strong link to a longer life. So maybe I should start doing that. The mile-long cruise ship with 80,000 on board. What? A mile? This can't be a mile long. That's bullshit. Police face call to drop race bias policies. Politicians blame DEI guidance for death of 18-year-old at the hands of Sikh killer. Again, I don't think this is a case of DEI. I think this is a case of not just following. You can have all the DEI stuff in place, but you make it paramount because you have a list of things to do, a little checklist when you turn up at a situation. If someone at the situation that the police have turned up to says, I am ill, I am injured, I have been stabbed, you check out to see if they have been. Number one thing, before anything else happens, that's what you do. We've got Princess opening her heart. Is that? I don't know what's going on there. Prostate screening change doesn't go far enough. Starmer, Reeves, and Lammy are all using vanishing WhatsApp messages. Anger at Oxford Union leaders. Hamas praise. Costs of comfortable retirement raises by 35%. Apparently, only 1 in 9 of us, of my generation, when we're going to retire, are actually going to retire comfortably. Only 1 in 9. The 9 out of the 10, it's going to include me, are just going to have enough money to pay for food. So you better own your own house by then, or you're going to be fucked. Biden up 7 times a night in final term. Joe Biden was getting up 7 times a night in his final term in the White House, his wife Jill has revealed. Dalglish accidentally shares cancer diagnosis to Kenny Dalglish, one of the most important figures in Liverpool's history and the club's greatest player, has revealed he's being treated for cancer. The Daily Express there, it's time to save Britain's beloved fish and chip shops. Okay, well, maybe you could just use them. Maybe we could make it a bit easier to set them up. I don't know. Kemi Fury at White Lives Matter comments. Angry Kemi Badenoch hit out at Nigel Farage for declaring White Lives Matter just as much as Black Lives amid uproar over the knife murder of student Henry Nowak. Well, obviously, he said that in order to, stir up racial tensions. Arrest that outraged nations. This great headline there from the I newspaper. Families plea for calm ignored. Then we've got appeals for calm as murder case prompts fears of racial tension. Return of El Nino is imminent, UN warns, which I was talking about earlier this week. We've got weight loss drugs can cut cancer risk by 30%. We've got the first response Ebola vaccine hunt speeds up. US calms NATO allies' fears with talk of extending nuclear umbrella in Europe. Extra deployment signals. Security pact bolsters, which amid troop cuts. Eastern flanks threatened. I mean, yeah, the US is playing damage limitation, isn't it? Damage control on the stuff that Trump and his dickhead mates have been coming out with. Right-wing rivalry exposed over murder of students. There's a picture of the frogman there. Burnham's City overture strikes wrong note as call with hedge funds cancelled. Andy Burnham cancelled the call with hedge fund managers this week in a stumbling start to Labour's leadership favourites' efforts to reassure City investors on his borrowing plans. We've got Mahmood warns of dangerous mood over teen's murder. And finally, 4-mile joyride to prison. Morel created fake invoices and expenses to cover up crimes. This is about Peter Morel, who was married to Nicola Sturgeon, who was embezzling thousands of pounds, hundreds of thousands of pounds from the SNP. We don't have DEI, says Diz. Yeah, we don't. Polka dot alert. You'll be lucky just to reach retirement age. I'll be lucky to reach retirement age. Gallifreyan Ren, I think you'll be all right. We'll get you there. Come on. We'll get there together. I don't know what the fuck we're going to do when we get there. Jesus Christ. But the only thing I'm thinking is, like, all the boomers have got all the money at the moment, and they're not going to be around forever. So when they're not, like, all that money's got to go somewhere, right? Daddy or chips, hell chips. Absolutely. Every time. Okay, I'll be back in just under an hour for PMQs with Graham Hughes. And then I'll be back at 1 o'clock again, writing the 3rd chapter. You cannot be serious. You cannot be serious. I don't know if that's a good title because I won't be able to read it out loud when I'm doing the audio book. I've got to think of these things. I tell you, right, good tip for writing. When you finish your book, when you finish your manuscript, read it out loud. Because when I read my book to do the audio book, I found so many mistakes. I found things where I had started each paragraph with the same sentence or the same words too many times. I found bits that, and I went through my copy of Man of the World that I had with me when I was doing the audiobook, and I made changes. I also made changes. There's a famous story that Stephen Fry likes to tell about how in his when he was doing the voiceover for the audio novels for Harry Potter, when it was still acceptable to like Harry Potter, he couldn't say Harry pocketed it. He found it very difficult to say Harry pocketed it, which I can understand because I'm having trouble saying it now. Harry pocketed it, but making it flow as part of a sentence. And he asked J.K. Rowling to not put it in the next book, and she, if he could change it and say something else, like put it in his pocket, and she said no. And then she made sure that in all her future books, she put the words pocketed it into the audiobooks to make it difficult for Stephen Fry to say. Now, he told this story like it was funny, but now we know how transphobic she is, and by extension of that, probably homophobic as well. I think she did it because she hates gay people, and Stephen Fry is gay. I think she did it on purpose to fuck with him, because she's quite petty and evil and sadistic. But when I was reading the book, there were certain turns of phrase that I'd used that were fine written down, but when I tried to say them out loud, I just couldn't say them. So I had to like scribble out entire sentences and change the word order of the sentence so I could read it out loud in my audiobook. So the second edition of the book has a lot of changes based on the way that I read it. Anyway, so see you later. It's been interesting and fun too at times. Oh, thanks very much, Sheffield Steve. And yeah, I'll get off now. So hopefully I'll see you at 12. So we can all suffer through Prime Minister's questions together. And then yeah, at 1 o'clock I'll be doing some writing. And then later on today I'll be going off to the cinema to go and see Obsession. It's a new horror movie about someone who makes a wish that a girl that doesn't like him falls in love with him, and she does a bit too much. Be careful what you wish for. And on that note, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for the super chats, really appreciate it. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.